Resident Evil Village is absolutely fantastic, but like every game, some people have some complaints and things that drive them absolutely nuts. So of course, like always with every big game, we scour the internet to find the things that drive people nuts. Here are all the things that Resident Evil players hate, but just keep in mind this video isn't meant to be like a takedown of Village or anything. Everybody here at GameRanks loves the game, so remember that before getting too salty about anything. This is all tongue-in-cheek. And also, spoiler alert. Starting off with number 10, let's start with the obvious. Never having enough ammo for your favorite gun. Now, a big part of Resident Evil games is inventory management and item conservation. The game doesn't want you to have a lot of ammo to make things more tense, you know? Still, it sucks to get an awesome gun like the grenade launcher or the Wolfsbane, especially, and then barely get any ammo for it. Yeah, this pretty much applies to every Resident Evil game ever, and it's the point, but it still hits hard every time. You want to use the good stuff sometimes, and not be forced to save it for the most important boss encounters. Seriously, the amount of ammo you get for the Wolfsbane is so little that I bet some people end up not using it at all. They just have it sitting in their inventory taking up space just because they're afraid that they might need it eventually. Well, good going, pal. You got all the negatives taking up space without any of the positives, which is kill werewolves good. Getting ammo in this game is less of an issue normally with the many ammo recipes the game gives you and the fact that you simply buy more ammo off the Duke, but how many people are actually gonna do that? When the ammo starts running dry for good stuff like the rifle or the grenade launcher, most of us aren't going to use our precious resources to get ammo. We're going to save it for something good. But of course, Village still gives you more ammo generally than 7, and crafting does help, but we've just seen a lot of people complain about wanting to go hog wild and tear through enemies. It's not really that type of game, dude. But the best part is if you beat it, you can go back with cooler weapons and then have some fun. Next, over at number 9, some actual criticism. The Mercenaries mode leaves a lot to be desired. Now, it is great to see it return, but one thing that's a little disappointing about it is that it doesn't have the alternate characters to play as. Remember in Resident Evil 4, when you didn't just get to play as Leon, you could also play as Ada Wong, Krauser, Hunk, and even Wesker? That was awesome. Well, in this game, we're stuck with just regular old Ethan. He's good, you know, but still, we want more. The way the mode works now means that different loadouts don't really matter as much, but it would still be fun to play as different characters who might have some unique moves or something, I don't know. Some other changes to Mercenaries that bugs people, the way it's not an endless survival arena, but rather a more linear progression through short stages. Something that some people might not like, as well as the entire store system. Sometimes you just want to jump in and start blasting enemies, but in this version of Mercenaries, you have to mess with your inventory every time you start and go through the laborious process of selling unneeded stuff, upgrading your weapons, and all that. So again, like the whole thing isn't bad. This is subjective criticism. It's just different, and some people aren't so into it. Personally, we think it's cool to see the mode get a return and get kind of like a raid mode feel from RE Revelations games. It's just down to personal preference. Still, you can't deny it wouldn't be cool to play as other characters in Mercenaries, at least Chris. Next at number 8, a little bit of a nitpick, those pesky, stupid lichen dodges. You know what we're talking about here. You line up the perfect shot, it looks like everything's all systems go to take out one of the many, many nasty werewolf men that swarm you throughout the game, but nope, that sucker sidesteps you and you totally miss. The lichen enemies in this game love to duck and dodge and move all around the place to get out of the way of your bullet fire, and it's never not annoying when they manage to get you to waste a bullet. Oh, it pisses me off. Even worse, a miss just means that your next shot will be even more inaccurate if you're, you know, firing aggressively, and the lichen has only gotten closer to you in the meantime. Getting a big bite taken out of you after one of these guys dodges your bullets is just the worst feeling ever, because in the back of your head, you know you could have hit them if you didn't wait that split second before firing. And it's not like there's only one guy you're dealing with here. There's usually a couple around at minimum, so you only have so much ammo, and then when a guy dodges your bullet, it's almost like you take it personally. The way the lichens can just pull out a clutch dodge like Neo from the Matrix, they're the worst sometimes. Next at number 7, here's something that might stress you out. Sometimes, not always, but sometimes, you might notice you get into a new room leading into a new area, and there's plenty of stuff around for you. Some ammo, some herbs, just a bit more than usual, almost like to a suspicious amount. When you start finding a bunch of stuff, you know some shit is gonna go down in the next room or so. So you think, great. Just great. It's either that, or if you're walking over like a catwalk or a balcony and there's like a darkened area below you, well, that's probably gonna be where the next fight happens. The worst of all is when this doesn't happen. Like this part in Heisenberg's factory near the end where you're going towards this crane. You fall down into the open area that absolutely looks like a boss arena, and then Nothing happens. I don't know what they were going with there. Maybe we've been playing too many video games here and nobody else got this feeling. But yeah, we got boss fight coming vibes when we saw this. Heisenberg's Factory likes to mess with your head in this regard a lot, actually. The part where you actually fight the propeller head guy is just on a nondescript hallway that actually transforms into a boss arena after he smashes through the walls. It's pretty creative. So basically, this game is always keeping you on edge. Most of the time, you're gonna know a boss is coming, like the lead up to the fight with the big werewolf guy, and that puts you on edge. But otherwise, they blindside you. So basically, you're screwed no matter what. Now, next over at number 6, on the flip side of that last point, you've probably found yourself getting stuck in the middle of a big fight with practically nothing. It's a Resident Evil game, so it's gonna happen and you're gonna be pissed. Maybe you have 5 bullets and a flashbang. That is classic Resident Evil at its finest, man. That's survival horror working correctly. But still, we've seen so many threads of people complaining, why do I have to fight this boss with only 6 bullets to my name and no healing items? Well, we say deal with it. That's the point of the game. Seriously, if you're playing on the harder difficulties where ammo is a lot more scarce, it isn't that hard to find yourself in that situation, and it can feel awkward and really suck. The game tries to avoid situations where there's literally no ammo, but it can still come close to happening. And in situations like you're either gonna have to muscle through or reload a save and buy some more bullets. It sucks to go back, but a checkpoint in this game is never far, and the game is just fun to play. So it's not so bad, but we feel you. But if you do manage to get a surprise win with only a knife and a prayer to your name, there's no better feeling in the world. This isn't Resident Evil 4. You know, the knife isn't a super weapon in the right hands. The standard one is absolutely a weapon of last resort. There's nothing more frustrating than being low on ammo, but it's also awesome when you get through a section without barely using any. Next over at number 5, having almost, but not quite enough meat for a requirement for a Duke meal upgrade. Yeah, this sucks. Resident Evil 8 introduced, this simple hunting mechanic where you can get the meat off of the animals and then go to the Duke and get the dishes for permanent upgrades, but it really just sucks when you have a few fish short or a couple less chickens to get that upgrade. The one here at Game Ranks that we seem to struggle with is the big fish meal, the sarmale de peste. It requires 5 fish and the finest fish, which seemed pretty easy to get, but it seemed like we were always a fish or two short. Fish are really the meat you have to go out of your way to get here, and trying to catch them while at the same time conserving ammo can be a big pain in the ass. Just kind of run around like an idiot with a knife slashing at the water. It works, trust us. But this applies to any of the meals, really. The rewards are so good that it sucks when you're just 1 meat short of the requirement, which means you're wandering around the village until you find the required animal. It's great that the map marks any animals around and even tells you if they're all dead or not, so the whole hunting process is painless, but it's still a painful blow to show up at the Duke just a little short of the meat for the upgrades you want. Next at number 4, some real actual criticism. Not enough of those old school puzzles. If you played the game, you know what we're talking about. Those old school brain teasers that really get your brain working. Most of the puzzles in this game aren't bad. They're honestly fun, but they're a little more streamlined with more obvious goals in comparison to even Resident Evil 7. We're not asking for the return of something like that sliding box puzzle from RE4 or anything, yikes, but it would be cool to have something a little more difficult. We're smarter than you expect, Capcom. One noteworthy example is the piano puzzle in the castle, where all you have to do is basically press the right keys. You don't even have to retry if you get them wrong. The game tells you which ones are right and wrong. It's so easy. It makes you wonder if they changed this to be easier in development or feedback or something. It's not all bad. Not every puzzle is simple. The big doll puzzle in the Beneviento estate is pretty cool, but hey, we're just pointing this out. Personal preference, what we're really trying to say is that we really love the puzzles in Resident Evil games, so we just want to see more of them. Next at number 3, it's something that a lot of players hate, not necessarily in the worst way, is House Beneviento and some of those horrors. Oh, you know what we're talking about. That one part in the basement where all the lights go out and suddenly things get really creepy. What's so awesome to us about this section is how it sort of comes out of nowhere. It's really unexpected. There's a little buildup, but not much. I didn't think anyone really expected to see an Amnesia-esque or PT-inspired monstrosity stalking you in a Resident Evil game. For a lot of people, this part is like bar none the scariest part of the game, and even the scariest part of like the franchise for some. It's so freaky that it's legit too much for some people. They hate it because it's so scary. I mean, we think it's awesome, but we can't argue with anyone saying that they had to stop the game at this part or just plain didn't like it because of the anxiety that is induced. Seriously, this whole section is just something else, and it's one of those things that is kind of a love it or hate it type of thing. Some people love it because it's so scary. Some people hate it because it's so scary. But down to number 2, let's go with some more real criticism and talk about not being able to return to some areas, like Castle Dimitrescu, after you leave. This is as simple as it gets. We want to go back to some of the areas that get closed off after you leave, like the castle. It's huge, and it's an awesome area, and it would be cool if the game let you go back in after defeating the big lady at some point, but it never does. What if you wanted to collect some items you missed or didn't have room in your inventory for? Those are all gone, along with the money on the ground or treasures you missed. It's kind of a drag. Even if most of the map remains accessible for most of the game, we still want to access every little bit. Wouldn't it be cool to return to the castle later in the game and have it be all decrepit and filled with ghouls or something? I don't know, maybe that level of backtracking would annoy some people, but I know some people out there who love to gather all the resources would want to have the opportunity to go back. It's not like a huge complaint or anything, but it's definitely something that we've noticed people have said they want to see. But down to number 1, something that people really hate about Resident Evil Village is the fact that there's not enough of the big vampire lady. Come on, we had to get into this, right? If you know me, people went crazy for Lady Dimitrescu, and a big part of the hype leading up to release revolved around her. So of course, there's a lot of people disappointed with her being kind of the first of the 4 lords to get taken down. She's basically the intro boss, and once she's dead, she never shows up again. This really ain't a Mr. X situation like Resident Evil 2 where he's always stalking you. She's more of a Chief Mendez, you know, the big cheese from Resident Evil 4, the first boss you beat before moving on to everything else in the game. So it's safe to say that some people were not happy about this. Boycotts were declared, refunds were demanded, a certain segment of the fan base was I'm kidding. It wasn't that bad, but it's still just something we wanted to point out. She actually gets a decent amount of stuff to do in the game for the part that she's in, so she leaves a lasting impression. It's not all bad. And the bright side is that all of the remaining lords ended up getting their own fan bases as well, especially that gross fish man who just wants to throw up and hang out and watch TV. Still, if you really got into this game hoping for a lot of vampire woman action, we feel you, because at the end of the day, it's only like 1/3 of the game at most. Still, these are things that we hate and people hate about Resident Evil Village, a game that we really generally love. As you can tell, the things that we hate aren't super strong, but we thought it would be fun to poke fun at things. So we want to hear from you in the comments. Anything about the game that bothers you, anything that's missing, something that frustrates you, definitely air your grievances in the comments. If you enjoyed this video though, clicking the like button is the best way you can help us out. We would really appreciate that. And if you're new, consider subscribing, maybe hitting that notification bell, because we put out videos every single day. But hey, as always, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.